And you turn, you go down to the glacier, you look at the glacier, you maybe take a few pictures, and then you go home. And that's what the coast looks like. It doesn't look that way very often. Only looks that way right after a snow. But that's certainly the general topography. Lots of rock, no trees. And for the most part, no snow either. That was an unusual day. The guys have built an igloo, which, as you may note from the sides of it, has served also as a dog latrine as a result of their instruction of how to build snow houses from Harry Strong. That's my lead dog, Bruno. Those of you who know Shep will note the similarity of coloring, except Bruno's exactly twice Shep's size. He's 140 pounds, has lost an eye in a polar bear hunting expedition, and is one of the great dogs of my entire experience. Very few teeth in his head, but he would gum another dog to death. It's a great animal. Here we are, rigged to go up to New Thule. It's that long trip that we thought we had been training for. 126 miles in 2 installments, 51 the first day, 75 the second. And here we are, approaching midnight on the first day, going past Saunders Island, which is a great bird rookery in the summer, an extraordinary place. And there is Saunders, which is like a gigantic cake stuck out in the middle of Wolstenholme Fjord, looked at from the highest mountain in the area, which is a height of a little over half a mile, and must be close to 20 miles away. Here's our camp, where we spent overnight between the two legs of the journey, and I did not have the wit to put my camera in my sleeping bag so that the shutter is slowed down, and all of these pictures, alas, are overexposed. There's Matak, our Eskimo guide, and the tent, and Ingmar Igeda coming up in the next picture, the Greenlandic superintendent of schools, descended from the first Lutheran missionary to go to Greenland in 1725, and of half Danish, well, actually about 52% Danish and 48% Eskimo stock. An extraordinary and wonderful man. Great to get on the trail with. We have two sleds. There's Igeda's and Matak's, and Matak is preparing our runners to go up over the Grenville Glacier. The route takes us from Cape Atholl across Wolstenholme Fjord, up Grenville Bay about 20 miles, which is where we are now, and then up over the Grenville Glacier. We are joined by 4 other Eskimo sleds, 5 other Eskimo sleds actually, and the way the convoy is kept together is the slowest team is at the rear, and that's us, because of course we also have the heaviest sled and the fewest dogs. An Eskimo puts a piece of cloth on a whip and dangles it over the back of his sled, and the team behind chases it, thinking it's a wounded bird. And that's the way we remain dressed. Here we are on land at the head of the Grenville Bay, and you can see a team up there at the middle left of the picture going in between 2 mountains, and it's going to go up the south face of the glacier. Here we are up on top of that glacier. There's a rock outcropping that comes through, and we take the 26 miles that takes us from sea level up to half a mile above sea level. We're climbing about 100 feet per mile, and then we all come down in a 2-mile face on the north side at the Inglefield Basin. It's that middle part of the picture is the north face of the Grenville Glacier. We have to cross the Inglefield Basin, which is about 50 kilometers. We finally get to this place at 2 o'clock in the morning of the 3rd day. Our dogs' feet are bleeding. They're exhausted. They've been 126 miles in 2 days, and they don't know what's hit them. Here's the village, immaculately clean. An amazing contrast to Thule Air Base, the way the Danes live. That's the Lutheran church. And in the next frame, you'll see Igeda's school. Everything done with chemical toilets that turns everything to dust. And of course, the kitchen water and the bath water just go out onto the terrain. And when spring comes, they go down into the Inglefield Basin. Everything really quite simple. There's Igeda. We have to call a helicopter because I don't have a week to wait for my dog's feet to heal. Matak will drive them back to our station. And here's the village looking up at the Army helicopter that's arriving. For many of these people, particularly for the children, it's their first sight close up of what a helicopter looks like. The children are enthralled. And Al Johnson, who's the pilot of the helicopter, is enthralled with the children. You can see him here in this next picture, squatting down, talking to two of the Eskimo kids, while Igida and I and Hendricks stand there just off the nose of the helicopter. Well, not a total success, but half a success, making that 126-mile trip. And here we are, looking back at the village from the chopper and going back to Thule, where I'll spend a couple of days and then go back down to my station with the Army. There's one of those tankers that refuel the bombers landing. And this is all late April in 24-hour daylight. There's probably the great focus of interest of that air base, the dump. How much material was wasted. Complete brand new vehicles that hadn't been properly treated with antifreeze, with their blocks cracked, just put there. I don't know how many $1 million of equipment. It looks a little better at midnight than it does in daytime, but still, it's a great monument to the American taxpayer. The days slide into May, and people start getting orders home. There's Perkins, one of those boys that came up with me from Boston. He's just been told that he's going to go to a lifeboat station about 10 miles from his home on Long Island. And Cabral, he's the Bostonian, he's going to go back to Boston, so he's pretty happy too. And of course, the whole process of resupply and supply picks up too in May. And we see these guys more often. This time, Al Johnson and his buddy have brought us a dog. Dog's not much use, as a matter of fact. As you can see, the dog's pretty tame. If you're going to have trail dogs, they got to be a little bit on the mean side. There's the last look from my office. Again, that absolutely stunning view down Baffin Bay on a beautiful day in July. And of course, the day that 6 of us are heading back to Wrightstown, New Jersey, there's a little party. Some of the guys get a little bit out of hand, need to be sobered up. And one guy here who's being sobered up has to be carried to bed too. In any case, it's a joyous and pleasant parting. I'm taken over to Thule in the Jeep. They load all my books and records into the airplane, and I look out the airplane window and see one of the things that you see so often in Greenland, which is a cold front coming from north to south, from right to left. You actually see the weather happening right before your very eyes. And we're up in the air, in the clouds, somewhere over Labrador, over Overcast. And it's all over in 32 minutes. Seems like the blinking of an eye. Goodbye, Greenland. It certainly was interesting. My commanding officer on the Coast Guard cutter Tamaroa said, "You'd never go to Greenland as a tourist." Those were his words of consolation. They'll stay with me forever. Thanks.